Okay, let's continue practicing subtracting rational expressions. So over here, we've got x minus 2, and then we have an x squared minus 3x plus 2. Now, this time, this is a trinomial. So before we can find our common denominator, we're going to have to factor this one. So since it's a trinomial, we think diamond method. So we need to get a plus 2 and a minus 3. All right, so if this is positive, both of these have to be negative since that one's negative. And that's going to be a 2 and a 1. So this factors as x minus 2 times x minus 1. Now, we see the x minus 2 over here, and we see an x minus 2 here. So that means our common denominator is going to have that x minus 2 in it. But we also see an x minus 1 over here. So we're also going to have an x minus 1 in our denominator as part of the common denominator. Now, this one already has all of your common denominator. So we can just write it down. 6x minus 7 over x minus 2 times x minus 1. I don't have to do anything to that one. Okay, here I've got the x minus 2, but I'm missing the x minus 1. So we've got to multiply by x minus 1 on both of those. Now you can do the box method for this if you want. X times x, that's x squared. Plus 3x minus x would be a plus 2x, and then minus 3. Over our x minus 2 times x minus 1. Now we're going to combine all of this that's in the numerator together in one fraction. So x squared plus 2x minus 3. Now here's where you have to be careful. Minus 6x minus a negative would be a plus 7 over our common denominator. Okay, now we're going to put together what we can. So there's only one x squared, so we're going to write it down, x squared. But we have a plus 2x and a minus 6x. So 2 minus 6, that would give us a negative 4x. And as I go, I mark them off as I take care of them, and that might help you to keep up as well. And then negative 3 plus 7 is going to be a plus 4. And it's all over x minus 2 times x minus 1. Now, x squared minus 4x plus 4, that's a trinomial that we can factor. So we need to get a plus 4 and a negative 4. Well, that's going to be negative 2 and negative 2. So this actually equals x minus 2 times x minus 2 over our common denominator of x minus 2 times x minus 1. Then we can cancel out the x minus 2's, so we're just left with x minus 2 over x minus 1. Now for our restrictions, x cannot equal 2 minus 2 would give us 0, and 1 minus 1 would give us 0. So this would be your final answer. Okay, if we look at example 4, this one is x plus 5 in the denominator, but this one over here is a trinomial, so we're going to have to factor it using the diamond method. So we need to get a positive 5 and a positive 6 when we add. Well, that's going to be a positive 1 and a positive 5. So this factors as x plus 5 times x minus 1. Now, for our common denominator, we have the x plus 5, so we got to list it. But then we also have this x plus 1 out here, so we have to list that as well. Okay? Now, this one already has the entire common denominator, so I'm just going to write that down. Minus x plus 3 over x plus 5 times x plus 1. This side is missing the x plus 1, so I'm going to multiply both by x plus 1. All right, now, x plus 1 times x minus 1, that's a difference of squares. So that factors, or that multiplies to x squared minus 1. And then we've got our common denominator. Okay, now we're going to put this all together on one numerator. X squared minus 1, now again, be careful here, minus x minus 3 over our common denominator. X plus 1 times x plus 5. Okay, now we've got an x squared. Took care of that. We just have one x, so that's minus x. And then we have minus 1 minus 3. Well, that's negative 4. So we need to ask ourselves, is there any way for us to be able to add or to multiply to get a negative 4 and at the same time give us a negative 1? Well, that would have to be a positive and a negative to get the negative up there. If I put 1 and 4, that's going to give me a 3. And if I put 2 and 2, that's going to give me 0. So this is not factorable. I can't factor it. So it's going to stay like it is with x plus 1 times x plus 5 as our common denominator under it. And it's because that won't factor. We can't do that. Okay, so I'm just going to mark that out. All right, now, x cannot equal, look at your common denominator. What would make x plus 5 equal to 0? That would be a negative 5. And what would make x plus 1 equal to 0? That would be a negative 1. So all of this is your final answer. Okay, I would like for you to pause the video at this point and try number 5, and then come back and I will work it. Okay, let's look at number 5 and see how you did. Hopefully you factored each of these denominators, so you had to factor both of them this time. All right, this one, we need to get a negative 2 and a negative 1. So that's going to be a negative 2, positive 1. So this factored as x minus 2 times x plus 1. And this side, we need to go positive 2 and a negative 3. So both of these are going to have to be negative, and that's going to be a 2 and a 1. So that's x minus 2 and x minus 1. Okay, so our common denominator here, we have an x minus 2 in each place, so we have to list that. We have an x plus 1 and an x minus 1. So we have 3 things that are our common denominator here. Now, if you look at this first one here, it has the x minus 2 and the x plus 1, but it's missing the x minus 1. So we need to multiply both top and bottom by x minus 1. All right, let's just do that. 2x times x is 2x squared, and 2x times negative 1 is negative 2x. And that's all over our common denominator. All right, now here's our minus. Now what's this one missing? It has the x minus 2 and the x minus 1, that's these two, so it's missing the x plus 1. So we're going to multiply by x plus 1 here. All right, we distribute the 4x. That's going to be 4x squared plus 4x, and it's all over our common denominator. All right, now we're going to put this together in one numerator. So 2x squared minus 2x, now here's where you have to be careful, minus 4x squared, and then minus 4x, because minus a plus makes that a minus. Okay, now it's all over our common denominator. Okay, now we're going to put things together. 2x squared minus 4x squared, that's a negative 2x squared. I took care of that. Minus 2x minus 4x is a minus 6x. All over x minus 2, x plus 1, x minus 1. Now, you have to ask yourself, will it help us any to factor this? So let's just come over here to the side. Negative 2x squared minus 6x. They have a negative 2x in common, which would leave me with x minus 3. Notice that that x minus 3 does not show up down here. So it's not going to help me any to factor that top. So I can just leave it like it is and I don't have to do anything else. So this doesn't help any. So I'm going to leave it as is and list my restrictions. X cannot equal, go back to your common denominator. You have it in both places here, either up here or down here. X cannot equal 2. 2 minus 2 is 0. X cannot equal a negative 1 because negative 1 plus 1 is 0. And x cannot equal a positive 1 because 1 minus 1 is 0. So x cannot equal 2 or positive negative 1. So this would be your final answer. All right, guys. As always, if you have questions, let me know.